Hello and welcome to the April weekend reading vlog that I'm starting literally the first weekend in the month, right? It's gonna be a good time. I'm going to actually try to read it in the weekend. I know that I tend to try to do it within 3 days, like I shoehorn the Monday in there as well, and sometimes I go over into the Tuesday if it's a 500-page book, cough eclipse. But I'm gonna try to actually make it a weekend reading vlog. Okay, I'm gonna try my hardest. Ignore that this is still the March setup for the whiteboard. Yes, I did just film the wrap up. It's fine. We are not pulling from the TBR jar. I could totally find her in here. I don't remember her name, the author, but yeah, I'm doing a thing in April where I just read retellings. Except for NetGalley books, those get an excuse to be read anyways, right? And so, of course, I decided like for this retelling. And there's one author in here. I think her name's like Melanie Sellier, something like that. She has like 4 or 5 series that are all connected, called the Four Kingdoms series. And the first series has 5 books. You do not need to know how I figured out what order they go in. I'm just going to say it so that future me can figure this out at a later point, which is basically I went on to Amazon's and I looked at the box set, and then it said, here's all the box sets of all the connected series. You know, in that section where it says like continue the series type thing, and then it put them in order, so I know which order they go in. And the first one is The Princess Companion, which is a retelling of The Princess and the Pea. That's the thing. These books are very much retellings of books that you're not expecting, or stories that you're not expecting. I know there's a Goose Girl one. I think there's like Swan Lake or something like that, right? So good times. I feel like I have to explain that the person that I follow on Goodreads, who I learned about the series from, right, rated this book 1 star. But they also rated a lot of the later books like 4 stars or something like that. And they said that the writing gets better as you go on. It's kind of expected in an author's career in general, right? And so it becomes more enjoyable the further in you get. Could I just start in like the later end and not read these beginning ones? Because despite the fact that they're series and they're all connected, they can be read as standalones. Could I do that? Yes. Will I? No, because I'm stubborn and also I'm willing to read shitty stuff. So here we are. It's not that long. It's like 300-ish pages. I don't really know much about it. Should I look at the synopsis? Alright, I briefly looked up the synopsis. I'm basically, I think her name's Alyssa. Did I just read this? Yes. Did I instantly forget? Yes. And I think her father's a woodcutter or something like that. She's lived in the forest her whole life. But she decides, something happens, I assume, with her dad or something. I don't know, it doesn't say anything in the synopsis. It just said that she knocks on the castle door. The dogs are going downstairs. Ignore that. She knocks on the castle door on a dark and rainy night. And there's 2 princesses and a prince that live there, and she gets the job as the princess companion, you know, hence the title. I assume her job is to basically be the princess's friend, because they're lonely. But then like a bunch of stuff starts happening that's weird, and yeah, that's about it. So good times. This computer is heavy, so I'm gonna end off this intro real fast. Despite the fact that I do plan to edit and upload the whole entire wrap up today, that I'm recording this, I do want to get at least a third of the way through the book today, and then finish it tomorrow. That is the plan. It's kind of short, and I assume it's fast paced, and I can speed read it, so, you know, good times. And that's kind of it to talk about for this intro. So I will update you tomorrow morning or late tonight with thoughts, depending on either. Thank you, Bella, for making sure to go down right when I'm about to stop recording. Thank you. And so until then, weekend reading vlog, more like 24 hours. So I don't know, I wasn't much into the book. I think there's like 2 prologue kind of intro things that aren't labeled as chapters in the book, right? And then I was like partially through the first actual chapter, but like I didn't want to read it. I physically didn't want to pick it up. I don't know why. So I was like trying to find an audiobook. So I don't know why I checked Audible, but I did. And I don't know if it was because of the Audible free trial that I re-get every few months. Shit, it's fine. Jeff Bezos doesn't need any more money from me. It's fine. That, or because I had it from Kindle Unlimited, the ebook. I don't know what it was, but I had that whisper sync thing where you can read the audiobook and ebook at the same time, both from Amazon, right? So I did that, and because of that and Rose Speed, I was able to finish it late last night at like 11:50 p.m. But I did it last night. And I'll go into the plot, but I feel like I should just say, before I go into anything, I didn't mind it for the first 60 to 70%, right? The first 60 to 70% was fine. Like, I didn't really like any of the characters other than the main character, and even then, sometimes she was annoying or stupid, and I was like, ugh. But the writing style was not as bad as I expected based off of the one review that led me to these books, or the one person who I follow on Goodreads who's reviewed this book, who they're talking about these books. It's what led me to read these books, right? Like, when I was mostly through the book, I looked at their review, and they complained about the writing style a lot, and I didn't mind it. Like, it was fine. It was whatever. It wasn't like the greatest thing, but it wasn't bad. The dialogue, and the characters, until this 70% mark, around then, I hilariously was like, of course I was reading on my Kindle, so I was like highlighting it, but like there was a few points where I actually had to leave notes on my Kindle note, like whatnot, highlights, because I got so mad. But basically, Alyssa is the princess companion. She is a woodcutter's daughter. She is around the area, to get a job, right? She's on her way to the kingdom, like the city itself of the kingdom, and she ends up getting separated from the group, and she's in the woods, in the middle of a storm, so she goes to like the first light she sees, which happens to be the light in the winter castle. Technically it is winter, even though it's raining. It's not like a snowstorm. There's never even really any snow. But basically, I don't know, it's never explained why the royal family spends every winter in this castle, and only ever since the twins were born, which are the princesses, it's never explained why. They spend the whole entire winter there, and then they spend the rest of the year at the main castle that's like 10 times the size, right? So she shows up, and pretty quickly she figures out, oh shit. And then for some reason, it's like the middle of the night, so like, there's like a butler or two, and that's it, who are like there to accommodate her, and they just assume that she is a princess visiting, and so they put her in the princess room, right? At this point, the princess has already put the pea, or not the princess, the queen has put the pea in the mattress to be the princess of the pea, right? And it's low-key explained that the reason why she was able to feel it is, one, she's super sensitive to like touch and whatnot, and pain and all that fun stuff, so that may be a reason why. But also, she went to a fairy godmother in like one of the 2 intro scenes, to get a way for her to find who her son's true love is, so that he could marry her, because as what is explained 70% into the book, the whole entire kingdom would prosper if with true love, not because of like political marriage or any of this stuff, because it will just magically fix all the issues in the kingdom. And it's explained at 70%. There's like a quote that I did on the Kindle and on Goodreads, where I was like, excuse me, what? This was never mentioned before. Where she's like, yeah, it's well known that if a royal marries, or the heir marries, their true love, the kingdom will prosper. And it's brought up at 70% through, but it's like never, like, what? What? So the queen is doing this so that her kingdom could prosper, because there's like bandits and famine and stuff going on, right? So she is trying to call all these princesses from abroad to the kingdom so that he can find his true love, and she's testing them with his pea. But also, if it happens to be a marriage from another kingdom, then it can be like a political thing, and that will be helpful as well, right? to her son Max, who's like only 19. And the main character, Alyssa, is 17 for most of this book. Right? But anyways, the test is already in place, so she sleeps on it, she knows it, she just thinks it's like a broken spring, and she never really brings it up because she just doesn't want to complain because, like, she's just a woodcutter's daughter. They accidentally put her in the wrong room. Everyone pretty quickly figures out, oh, the mess up, the prince is instantaneously rude to her for no reason. But the people who found her first are the twin girls who act like they're 7 and 8, but they're actually 11, and I forgot about that until, like, near the end of the book. But basically, they're basically menaces, and no one really likes to deal with them, especially in the family. They all just like to ignore them and leave them to their nanny and governess, but the governess is really rude and stuck up and, only really deals with them for school stuff. Otherwise, she doesn't care. And the nanny is, like, really old, and sickly now. So, basically, in the, like, hour that she is accidentally left alone with the girls in the very beginning, she manages to distract them and get them to, I don't really know how to say this, but like be normal. I don't know. She tells them a story. There's like this whole thing where she tells stories all the time as a kid. And so she just tells them like a princess story, and they really like her. And so the king just instantly gives her a job as the prince's companion, and she's like, whatever. She's like a little iffy about it, but basically her plan is to just continue in the position until the end of winter, and then she'll go back to Acadia with them, and then when she gets there, she'll work for her aunt like originally planned, right? So, all this is happening, right? Slowly her and Max start a relationship. Where was the romance? I don't know. Eventually, they, like, both end up at the library at the same time that she suddenly finds in her free time. And she's like, ooh, library, I love to read. So she's, like, reading books about politics and whatnot, which, like, no one finds suspicious. And he gets upset that she's mad at him for constantly being mean to her. And so he's like, well, call me Max. And then they start flirting. It was out of left field. I don't know. All this fun stuff. And then, at one point, she's following this guy, I don't remember what his position was at the castle, but, one of these serving girls, or maids, or whatever, had, like, a thing with him, but, like, she thought that he was cheating on her, so she was following him at night to find out if he was really cheating on her and all this stuff. And then Max sees her out there in the middle of the night, and he's like, dude, what the hell are you doing out here? And starts following her, who's following Claude, and then it finds out, he's actually doing part of the secret plan to take down the kingdom. So they catch him. She low-key sees Max's life. They do briefly go with the idea that maybe, she led him there on purpose and she was part of the plot. But she does pretty easily explain, no, I was actually just there to find out if he was cheating on my bestie, and he did mention it to the other guy that he was talking about in the forest with, about how, like his boss, that, he was cheating on them, and, she was suspicious of him, and that's why he was suspicious of him, but, like, there's someone looking out at him, because him cheating on her best friend, right? So, like, corroborated story, blah, 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 and then, a bunch of random stuff happens. It's not important, but they're on their way back to the summer, or the rest of the year palace, right? And she just assumes she's gonna leave, they're gonna find someone better for the position, and she's going to, work for her aunt at the tavern she owns, like the biggest tavern in the country. Just a little fun fact. And the king comes in and is like, hey, actually, I want you to stay, and because you have a gut feeling about people, actually it's like a spine feeling about people, and I want you to be my spy on the inside and keep an eye on people, and then if you suspect someone, you tell me. Which is a little weird, of just some random girl, like, yeah, she said something was up with Claude, but, like, that doesn't, like, what? You have actual people you could actually pay to do this. I don't understand. But this isn't even the bad part. I mean, this is what it started getting, like, a little iffy, and I was like, that's weird. But they return to the castle. This is when the princesses are gonna start showing up, like, one a month. Blah, 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 blah. During this, she's kind of having a flirtation with Max. The first one shows up, but like she becomes really nice friends with her. There's like a bunch of other stuff with like the other royals being very, especially female royals being really snotty to her because they think that she has a thing with Max, and how dare she have a thing with Max? She's just the woodcutter's daughter and all this stuff. And there's a lot of woman against woman hate in this. Good times, good times. But she does make some friends. She sees her aunt, and explains everything. But yeah, the first princess she becomes friends with, but she doesn't really like him like that either. So like the fact that there's no engagement, they're kind of okay with it. And then she gets a fever right before her 18th birthday, and she almost dies. And there's another princess that shows up during that time, but she's kind of like dumb. And in the very beginning, Max is thinking about how princesses are always beautiful, but they're always super dumb or annoying, and he's like a woman who has both brains and beauty. And at least princesses have beauty, so there's a chance that he'll find one that's like that by going through royalty and not through the everyday people. He's low-key the worst in the very beginning, so I don't know how we're supposed to root for them to be together. I don't know. At this point, Alyssa is not really bothering me yet, okay? This is the point where I'm still fine with her. There's like a thing where the next princess shows up, and she gets a bad feeling about her, but she like suspects maybe it's because of her flirtation with Max that she has a bad feeling about this princess, so she doesn't really bring it up. But eventually she does bring it up to the king, and the king's like, come to me when you actually have evidence. Like, I know I told you to come to me if you have any of these feelings, but now I'm gonna ignore it, and all this stuff. He's also been having her spy on all his private meetings, because there's like a secret doorway in like some bookshelves in his office where she can like see conversations, and so she can like spy on them and see like whether or not she has a feeling about people, right? And then she's like, after her sickness, she has a conversation with the queen, and the queen feels like the king has never loved her, right? So that's why the kingdom never prospers. This is like the 70% mark where it starts really going downhill with that weird quote about how if it's true love, then the whole kingdom will prosper type thing, magically. Yeah. And so she makes this plan with the queen. Well, she brings it up to the queen to like go into that room and spy on her husband to see if he really loves her, right? But she forces Alyssa to go in with her, and then they overhear them having a conversation where the king basically says that he loves her, but like he blames her for all the wrongdoings in the kingdom and all this stuff. And she gets really angry, so she busts out of the room and she's like, how dare you, and then leaves. But Alyssa's just left standing there, and so the king has her arrested for treason. But then when the guards start groping her, and then Max comes out and is like, what the fuck? And then he recognizes him as the guy who is the boss of the Claude guy, who's now dead, by the way. They don't know he's dead. They just assume he escaped, but he's dead. The boss guy murdered him. But like recognizes that he's him, so he has him arrested. And then takes Alyssa to his dad. He's like, bitch, what the fuck? And his dad's like, fine, she can stay out of the dungeons, but like, I don't trust her and all this stuff. And then the wedding to Ava, the evil queen or evil princess, is happening. They kiss on a balcony, and then she overhears, I don't know how she overhears it, a conversation of Ava with one of the other people. Turns out it's all like her whole entire thing is that she wants to take over the kingdom, and her father wants her to take over the kingdom through marriage, but she doesn't want any of that, so she's just gonna do a hostage takeover. With legally being okay because she'll technically be married to him, so it's fine, right? And so Ava goes to tell the king this, but they catch her and they lock her up for like a day or something. She eventually breaks out, wears this really nice, the dress on the cover of the book, goes down to, this is where I start hating my life, right? Goes down to the ball where it's going to be announced that they're engaged, right? And Max sees her, and is like instantly like, oh my god, because she's been missing for like a day and a half, which is rare. And so he's like, hey, where the fuck have you been? And she starts to explain, and he goes to stop the engagement announcement, but her dad automatically does it. And then Eva sends her guards after Alyssa, and the king doesn't find that suspicious. Like, yeah, I get it, your fiance's kind of girlfriend is there and just stole your moment, right? But like, a normal person would just fire her after you get married or something, and not send your guards to attack her type thing. So she's on the run, and she just hides in the library and falls asleep 10 minutes later. But then eventually Max comes in and is like, oh my god, and she's like, oh my god, and he's like, I'll send someone to like help you, and so then she falls asleep again, and then Bestie comes in, who now works as a nurse, because she was nursing her when she had the fever, right, and she now works as a nurse, and so she sneaks her down to, the quarantine area where she was in when she was sick, right, and then she falls asleep again. And then she's slowly making plans, like she's trying to figure out a way out of this. She's like reading all these books and all this stuff, and she eventually finds one. It's kind of obvious what it was, even though it doesn't, like, it leaves it to be like suspicious or like not really known until like the moment it happens type situation. But basically, the first princess, I think her name was like Marie, right, who she's friends with, right? And, like, they send letters back and forth sometimes and not, like, they're actually pretty close friends. Weird, but okay, whatever. Basically, when she left, he gave her a book that had this really nice note in it, right? And she finds in their, customs that if the specific way that he wrote the note about, them having a prosperous, relationship for the kingdoms, in, like, a political way is how it was intended, but because it could be intended or taken as romantic, then it could be proven that she was engaged to him first, and therefore the whole entire engagement to Ava is null and void, and all this stuff. But Ava's moved up the wedding to like 10 days, so they have to speed send a message to her, but she's like very far away, right? Like an ocean away. But turns out the doctor guy who's like sewing up her hands because her hands got sliced up, blah blah blah, is all like secretly from her kingdom. And so, he has a secret way to send a message to her, because she figures this out because she knew when she was sick really easy, and, like, the letter got to her almost 2 days after she woke up from the fever, which makes sense, because does make sense, because she was, like, out for, like, only 4 days, so for her to get the knowledge and then have the letter back in, like, reply in time, like, there has to be a secret message system. Turns out it was pigeons. So she gets him to send her a message, and then she comes riding really fast, and she falls asleep again, I'm pretty sure at some point. I don't know, she falls asleep, like, 10 times while she's in, like, danger. She's, like, gonna be found at any moment type thing. Max has a plan to have her escape, with the guards during the wedding so that she can be safe, because if Ava has Alyssa, then she can use her to control Max. But right when she's about to leave, she's leaving the castle, Marie's coming in, and so they go in to the wedding. She dresses up in the green dress again, and they go to the wedding, and they're like, hello, actually, I have first engagement, so fuck it. And then they arrest Ava. The way that this whole entire time all this is happening, this is like 10 days, right? The king and queen didn't believe Ava was malicious until the last 3 days. Also, the way that the queen, after the whole, like, hiding out in the secret bookcase thing, to hear the king's conversation about her, wasn't like, hey, yeah, no, it's my fault she was there, I forced her to be there. She just let her be arrested. But, like, they're both like, it's a little weird, but, like, it's nothing malicious. And it took them a long-ass time to realize this person who they, like, let take care of their twin daughters for, like, almost a whole year, and who they trust with a lot of their secrets, is actually trustworthy and was right all along. It actually pissed me off. But it was too late, they couldn't do anything. Because if they canceled the engagement, then it would look like an act of war or something. Right? So Ava gets arrested, and there's, like, a bunch of stuff. It's, like, brought up, like, the king's all, like, the guards from her kingdom are, like, we look forward to a prosperous relationship with your kingdom. The king's like, sure. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you could literally take over their kingdom, because this is a whole thing. Like, you at least should be getting, like, a shit ton of money from their king for this, right? Like, but no, it's just swept under the rug. And then, the queen is all like, oh yeah, that pea, I really thought she was the one because she felt the pea, but apparently she overheard the plan from the butlers about the pea, so that's how she was able to trick the queen to thinking that she was the one. And then, Alyssa's like, oh, you mean that spring I felt? Yeah, I was meant to bring it up, but like I forgot to. And then it turns out, no, she's actually the one. Oh my god, Torella went round happy. I hate. I feel like I cannot express how much I hated this book in the last 30%. Like the first 60 to 70% was like 3 stars. And then around 70 to like 80%, it was like 2.5 stars. But the last like 20%, it was like 2 stars. I couldn't do it. I almost had like 2 minutes left. I was like, can I do nothing? At one point, I was like at the point where she was sleeping every 10 minutes, despite the fact that she was in danger. And I was just saying, she's asleep again. She's asleep again. She's asleep again to H. And H was like, DNF, what the hell are you doing? But I only had like 20 minutes left at that point. Anyways, 2 stars. Will I continue the series? Yes. But my reasoning is, 1, the person who I found these books from, has said that they get better the further in you get. 2, I just remembered another thing I wanted to bring up. But 2, the writing style wasn't bad. Like, I wouldn't mind reading another one. It was pretty easy to read. It's just the characters that I have issues with, and they won't be the same characters. So, like, maybe I'm hoping that eventually I'll find one that I really like. But they were like, it was a quick read, and I didn't mind it that much until like the last like 25%. I really hated it, but otherwise, like, it wasn't that bad. Now the other things I forgot to bring up real quick. One, the other quote that I made a note about is at one point, so it was like right after their first kiss, their one and only kiss in the book, actually, on the balcony, and Max is like, I'm gonna go marry the princess now, and she's all like, yes, he is always like one, like, she gets angry initially because he's all like, I love you, and then doesn't fight for her, and she's like angry that he wouldn't be willing to fight for her, but then she's like, I get it, like, he always has a sense of duty for his kingdom. Bitch, when has he ever shown a sense of duty? Literally, the only time he has wanted to do something for his kingdom is when he wants to help his dad out with stuff as an excuse not to hang out with the twins, because literally everyone in this family just ignores the twins exist. There's a lot of stuff about how Alyssa, like, basically is taking care of the twins and is, like, noticing that no one in the family hangs out with them and feels really bad that they're, like, lonely all the time, and have no friends because they're princess, like, all this stuff, and, the theory that, like, everyone who wants to be friends with them is just trying to be friends with them because their family wants them to have, like, a royal connection type thing, right? And all this stuff. Also, there's, like, a bunch of stuff where she's, like, trying to teach them morals and how to be a princess with storytelling, which, like, I get because the point of stories, especially ones when you're a kid, are supposed to teach you morals, but she's, like, teaching them how to be a princess with these stories. But she's a, what could, like, how does she know how to be a princess? What does it make to be, like, a princess? Like, how? Well, now she's a princess. Who cares? What was the other thing? I feel like there was another thing. Oh, yeah, a few points, there was, like, stuff brought up about, his parents' relationship, the king and queen's relationship, right? We briefly talked about this, right? And, like, it was brought up that she, was, a commoner, and she had an evil stepmother and 2 stepsisters, and they met at a series of balls where she lost her shoe, and I really thought, like, there was gonna be a thing where it's, like, a Cinderella retelling in one of the books. There is one in the books, is a Cinderella retelling. I think there's also a novella that's a Cinderella retelling, but neither one of them are connected to her. Neither one of them are by the same, are about the same people. So it's not important. I want to bring that up because I thought it was weird. But yeah, 2 stars. I finished the book, like, really early. This is way too long, so I'm gonna stop. But I hope you all understand. No, I hated it. I will continue the series because I'm me. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just gonna close it off with telling you, link below is all my stuff. I don't think there's anything to, like, put above in the cards, I guess. Maybe the whole entire weekend reading vlog playlist if you want to watch the other ones. There's a lot of chaotic ones, let me tell you. But yeah, that's kind of it. This is done. The next video should be a read with me. But other than that, the next video will be the Beauty and the Beast retelling. Reading vlog where I read 3 Beauty and the Beast retellings that I'm gonna go film the intro of right now. So, good times, good times.